Cougars taking on the Belleville Buccaneers. Hello everyone, I'm Matt Lachlan, along with me John Marcy. So glad that you could join us for our season opener. And John, we have two teams that are coming off good seasons in 1992. MKA won 12 games, dropped just 6 and had a tie. Meanwhile, Belleville comes in at 14 or off a 14-4-2 season. But there are some differences. We've got an experienced Belleville team with a lot of returning starters against a club that's rather young for the MKA Cougars. In fact, they'll have a freshman in the net.
Well, having a freshman in the net is it's really tough on this field. It's only 100 yards long. That's the minimum allowed by the state of New Jersey. That's going to put a lot of pressure on the keeper because the defense can bring the ball up so quickly, and the keeper's got to be on his toes all the time.
Belleville, as I said, 14 wins last year, and that was a good campaign, but I think the end of the year left a little bit of a bad taste in the Buccaneers.
Well, the Bucs started off, they came up midway of the season, they were undefeated, and then I think they thought they were going to go a little bit further in the county tournament, and of course Essex County's so tough. I think there was disappointment there, so they kind of lost a little bit at the end, and I feel they have something to prove this year.
Yeah, they lost to Montclair in the quarterfinal round of the ECT by a score of 1-0, and then they were eliminated in the sectional semifinals by Montclair by the same 1-0 score. A player who has nothing to prove about his abilities, but since this is his senior year, I think he wants to go out on a winning note and show that last year's record can be exceeded this year and that they can make some noise in the ECT in the States. We're talking about Greg Groeling.
Greg Groeling, I wish he could play on my club. I haven't even got one, but 28 goals, 11 assists last year. I believe he's the career leader in scoring for Belleville. He's big, he's imposing. You'll see him, he's number 17, big blonde-haired boy. He can do it well in the air, he does it well on the ground, and with 11 assists, he also distributes the ball, so he's dangerous even away from it.
52 career goals to be the standard bearer in that department for the Buccaneers. For MKA, we're going to talk about a 4-year starter, a man who fills the captain role, and Stu Ward, his head coach, has a lot of things to say that are very positive about Mitch Decter.
Mitch Decter, not as physically imposing as Groeling. He's smaller, he plays in the middle, but he distributes the ball very well. 12 or 13 goals, 16 assists last year, which is outstanding numbers. In that Prep B division, that's real tough. You've got schools like Princeton Day, they're competing against schools like Pingree, Newark Academy. So to put the numbers up that he's put up speaks very well, especially how he distributes the ball because he gets the assists as well as the goals.
Stu Ward says that Mitch is the best captain he's ever had. He says he can control the game, and we'll see how well he does that, along with his Cougar teammates as they open up the season against the Belleville Buccaneers. And we'll be back to Van Brunt Field with the start of today's contest right after this.
Catch the latest in local issues.
Ray Michael, you're a citizen of Rahway, you're a businessman there. Why would you support something like an incinerator in your backyard?
Environmental tips.
So what we have to do is we have to build off of what we've done. We've accomplished a great deal. People are feeling good about the Jersey Shore, but what we have to do is make our commitments for the long haul.
High school sports.
And Ridgewood, of course, takes advantage of the man-up situation. Montclair quickly comes down the other end. First shot, and it is in. We're tied.
Special events. And much, much more when you tune in to Suburban Cablevision's TV3.
Welcome back to Van Brunt Field. I'm Matt Laughlin, along with me, John Marcy. A few days ago, it was 90 degrees, hot, humid. It's still humid, but the temperature's about 30 degrees cooler. An overcast gray afternoon as we kick off our high school soccer coverage. Let's meet the starting lineups. First for the Belleville Buccaneers. Their forwards, Greg Groeling and Christian Castro. At the midfield, Frank Tafur, Giuseppe Minella, Joe Colucci, and Diego Paredes. Frank Toledo, Chris Imperatrice, Marcello Girolando, and Anthony Vitella are the defenders. And in goal for the Buccaneers, Mike Percio, a 2-year starter, a senior, and one of the captains of this team. Meanwhile, for the MKA Cougars, up front, they'll go with Joe Monaco and Kevin Clark. The midfielders, Lawrence Epstein, Danny Bird, Mitch Decter, and Charles Kaplan. The defenders, Sharif Siddiqui, Corey Peruz, Alon Terry, and Steve Rabb. Rabb a freshman, Siddiqui a sophomore, and in goal, a freshman, Tim Howard. Howard plays on the 15 and under regional team, making his first varsity start, and I don't care at what level you play, and the regional team certainly is a very high level. There is something special about a varsity start. It might not quite be on the level, it might be a notch or two below, but it's still special, and I'm sure the nerves are acting up for that young man. Play is underway. Belleville in the blue uniforms with the white trim. MKA, the home team, with the white jerseys, the green shorts, and the green trim. Frank Tafur on the throw-in. 40-minute halves. That change in effect for the last few years as the ball is played back to Howard. Howard plays an awful lot of soccer, and Coach Stu Ward says, I have great confidence in him. He says, I'm not sure exactly where he ranks in the state in keepers, but I would say there is no question that as a freshman, he is no worse than in the top 15%.
Well, to put him in, it's only a freshman in the top 15% is saying an awful lot about a keeper. But as you say, Matt, this is his first varsity start at his high school. This is a social atmosphere as well as an educational atmosphere, and that's very important. And there is some pressure on the man, especially when you look at a guy like Groeling coming at you.
Groeling, a big kid at 6 foot, 160 pounds. He looks bigger than that. Here's Decter. Decter, the only captain for MKA, heads the ball forward. That's Greg Decter, his brother, who has come on. Decter, the younger brother of the senior captain, and Greg Decter is only a freshman, 5'9", 150-pounder. That's Jose Madalena. He, along with Mike Ferraza, are our officials today.
Both two experienced men. Mike from right up the road in Verona, and Jose from a soccer power area, Harrison, New Jersey.
Marcello Girolando with the long free kick for Greg Groeling, a little too far, and it goes across the sideline.
And you saw the throw-in going directly back to Howard, which brings to mind one of the new big-time rule changes in high school soccer this year. As we go along, we'll be able to explain it, and it's going to have a big bearing today because we're on a very, very short pitch.
100 yards long as we look at Belleville head coach Gino DePinto in his 5th year, coming off back-to-back 14, 4, and 2 seasons. 100 yards long, football dimensions wide, so it's a tight, narrow field.
Yeah, it's only the minimums that are set by the state, which is 100 by 50, whereas the actual maxims go 120 by 75.
Steve Rabb does a nice job of turning the ball out of the box, but Belleville puts the pressure on once again. The long pass ahead for Groeling, just a little too far as Tafur got a little bit too sharp of an angle, and we'll have a goal kick. Just underway, Matt Laughlin along with John Marcy. The first of about 20 games that we will bring you, and the only reason I give you an approximate number is it depends on how many state games we will cover this year as to how extensive our schedule is. Last year we had 3 teams reach the state finals. Here's Clark. Kevin Clark, the junior, turns it. Good ball. Wide open for the header is Decter, and it's cleared, but not out, and it's a goal. Greg Decter, the freshman, making his first varsity appearance, has given MKA the 1-0 lead.
And it was a cross coming from the left side, Matt. The keeper had to go with the cross, and as the ball came over his head, it was clean. You'll see here on the play, Clark coming all the way from the right-hand side. And Dector right there, heading the ball, tried to clear by the defense, but it looked like the ball was already in at that point.
Clearly an assignment blown in the back because Dector was wide open, and it's 1-0 early on.
And that goal scored at approximately 3.5 minutes of the first half.
Credit Clark with the assist, and he did a brilliant job along the far side with the cross to a wide open Dector. And Dector, for a freshman, John, showed no panic, knew exactly what to do.
He did. He just sat there knowing there was a possibility. He just stood there to take the header, but very calm and cool, and there was a good chance he was going to get hit, but he didn't get hit, and he took the header and went to the weak side of the keeper and got the goal.
We have a lot of time yet to play as we get our first whistle for jumping in the back. We have a long way to go in this game, let alone the season, but Stu Ward says that he thinks his team can make some noise in the county. He says we have some talent. We're young, but they are talented freshmen and sophomores. As we look at Coach Ward checking his watch, saying it's early on, but we'll take the 1-0 lead. 500 record through his first 2 years at 18-18-1, coming off a 12-6-1 campaign last year. But he said our freshmen, our sophomores have talent. We've got returning players with experience and talent. He goes, we think we've got a good mix. Frank to 4 with the long clear, headed by Alon Terry. On the far side, the race is on. John Monaco can't control to 4, called for the whistle, however, and we'll have a free kick for the MKA Cougars. Mitch Dector, good play by Kaplan, and now Clark in the box taken down, no whistle, and it's tracked down.
And that was a good no whistle. Good no whistle. Both men coming in basically parallel to each other. You have a legal charge. We have a stoppage of the clock here. We may, in fact, be seeing a card.
We're going to get an early yellow, and it's going to be issued to Clark. Not sure. It was well off the play. After he was knocked down, no whistle was blown, and perhaps he took exception to the man who took him down and perhaps retaliated just slightly.
Well, Mike Ferraz's signal was the hand to the back of the head, which is an unsportsmanlike conduct, which is probably exactly, he took exception to something that was said or done.
And of course, he has to be removed from the field. Stu Ward and his assistant looking on, that's Ferdy DiMatteis, former Cosmo player and assistant at MKA, not happy. Clark goes out, and he's replaced by Brian Cook. Cook, a familiar name. He's a 3-sport star, but hockey, the sport that he really dominates, and he is a goalie and an outstanding one. And now, down the other end of the field, Corey Peruz and Greg Groling being spoken to by Jose Madalena. A little pushing and shoving, battling for position, and Madalena doing a good job taking control before things potentially got out of hand.
As the late Harry Noack would say, giving verbal admonitions.
Harry was a word master.
And probably one of the finest soccer officials we may have seen any place in the United States.
Yeah, good man. Here's Rabb, Steve Rabb, the freshman, playing it up. Monaco, and the ball goes across the far line as Giuseppe Minella did a good job coming back defensively. Throw in for the Buccaneers.
Steve Rabb, is he any relation to the former soccer coach here at MKA? Something we might have to check on.
Play at midfield, we get a whistle. Frank to 4, taken down. Free kick for the Buccaneers. Just underway. If you're just joining us, Greg Dector scoring early on, giving the Cougars a 1-0 lead. Credit the assist to Kevin Clark. Clark has come back in after sitting out after receiving the yellow. Brian Cook goes to the bench. Good ball into the box. Groling, dangerous here, waits to settle it, and just couldn't control it, and has a weak left-footed shot that's easily handled by Howard.
But I was amazed at how when Groling took that ball, nobody really challenged him. It was like everybody stopped to wait and see what he was going to do with the ball.
Here's Clark.
I'm impressed with Clark. He shows great ball control skills, and he's only a freshman. I apologize for that, junior.
He is a junior, second-year starter, plays basketball and baseball. Ball
Belleville's
just outside the box, and the long clear by Imperatrice.
This is an opening game. I see Belleville is going to have to do more communicating on defense. That first goal might have been a defensive lapse of one person not covering the other, but they have to listen to the instructions for their keeper.
6.5 minutes gone by in the opening half. Groeling and Alon Terry combining, and Terry called for the foul. And we'll have a stoppage of the clock.
We might have a delay of game here. We just have a delay of game because that ball was kicked away by one of the...
by Terry, Alon Terry, and Terry is going to get a yellow. So 2 yellows issued, both to Cougars. Terry will have to go to the bench.
Terry was cautioned for a delay of game, kicking the ball away. You have to leave that ball alone.
And Cook will come back on. Let's see now what Belleville does here. Diego Paredes, 20 yards out, 19 yards out. Sharp angle, though.
I don't think you're going to see him go for the ball. I think the goal. I think you're going to see him looking for Groeling, who's coming in from the left side. Let's see what happens.
Nobody there, and Groeling signaling that the ball was not well played. And Paredes, I'm sure, saying, well, you go to the ball.
Well, I think that's what he wanted to do. He actually got the cross, what we'd say, a little too good, too close to the keeper. He wanted to keep it away from Howard just a little bit. And Groeling again with a great move.
Oh, pretty ball in front. That was just a little too far.
Groeling did a great job of that pass.
Anthony Razik has come on, the junior forward, first year on the varsity. He was open, but the ball just played a little too far for him. Minella out to the left wing for Groeling. Groeling marked there by Corey Peruse and taken down by Peruse, and we'll have a free kick.
You'll probably see a lot of that during the course of the game. A guy of Groeling's stature and abilities often attracts fouls.
Being marked by a man who's relatively new to the game, has really improved over the last year and a half. We're talking about Corey Peruse. Stu Ward says he spent a lot of time with the game, and he draws the assignment today of marking Greg Groeling. Direct kick and handled easily by Howard.
Minella was no question. He was taking a shot at that one. Giuseppe Minella with a cross from almost the far touchline made that about a 45-yard shot, and he was right on net.
It rained heavily yesterday, and you can see already that the area in front of the MKA goal area is starting to get chewed up a little bit. There is a very soft patch on the right-hand side of the MKA end.
Well, the field is definitely going to come into play, even if we don't get any other rain today, and that's still quite a possibility. With all the tracking of the players, it's going to bring up the moisture. You've got a lot of loose turf here today. It's going to be very interesting when we get into the second half.
1-0 advantage for MKA as we look down the line. Throw in taken by Joe Colucci. And off of whom does it go? Still not sure. It looks like it's going to be a throw-in for MKA, yes?
That's what I believe, but you see the hands up signaling that there's a substitution coming in for the Cougars.
And Terry comes back onto the field. Cook goes off. Alon Terry and Kevin Clark, both with yellow cautions early in this first half.
Well, they were both, in both cases, I think they were really silly yellow cards to take. When you're dissatisfied with an official's call or non-call, as the case may be, you, as an official, and I'm not saying, I mean, common sense tells you you're not going to win the argument. Quietly let them know what you feel, and then leave it. Don't belabor the point.
Here's Dector, ball knocked away from behind nicely by Paredes. All the way down, miscommunication, ball is free, and Howard quickly pounces on it. Little miscommunication in the back, and the ball came free, but Howard recovered and was able to bring the ball in.
Groeling never hesitated. He came straight into that ball all the way. He took the ball right out of Howard's hand, but as he did, he tripped over him and wasn't able to recover in time, and Howard was, and he made the possession. You'll see here the ball rolling back on the replay and the contact. Howard able to recover before Groening and the save made.
Back to action. Groening called for a foul. Free kick for MKA. No handball called.
And rightly so.
Here's Mitch Decter, 4-year starter, captain of the team, tries to change direction. And it's taken by Tafur. Ball bounced hard off of Manella. Here comes MKA. Kaplan tries to split the defense. Ball is free.
Groening with a great opportunity here.
Nice slide tackle by Terry. Fine play by Alon Terry, the 2-year junior starter. Was a forward last year, John. And Terry was a 6-goal scorer, the 3rd leading scorer on the team. Eric Kuseluk scored 25 goals, had 6 assists last year. He's now at Cornell, was a first-team all-prep player. Decter, the 2nd leading scorer on last year's team, and then Terry comes 3rd.
Both teams successful. I see Belleville on offense has really a defensive setup, even when they're attacking, with 6 defenders staying between midfield and about the 30-yard line.
Vitella beaten on the play by Clark, reaches out and grabs the jersey. That's a no-no. We'll have a direct kick. Decter will take it, and Mike Ferrazza setting up the wall.
And Mike Ferrazza telling him 10 yards right away, and of course the Buccaneers at the same time trying to claim they don't know what 10 yards is.
Isn't that always the way?
Absolutely. Cross to Clark. We're going to have a corner kick, I believe. No?
Sure looked to me like it had gone off of Jim Berg, but we'll have a goal kick instead. Berg out there on the far side. Berg has come on, a junior, playing in the midfield. And he has replaced Frank Tafur. Manella has the ball taken away by Siddiqui, but he recovers. Pretty play for Paredes. Paredes with some room.
Paredes trying to set up Groening, couldn't get it across to him, brings it on a square pass.
Berg has it taken away on a good slide tackle by Bird, and the home crowd responds. Played back to the keeper by Vitella. Loose ball, Clark in front. Ball is still free. And we get a whistle
on a
dangerous play in the box.
That's an excellent call by Mike Ferrazza. That is a dangerous play. It was played by the Belleville player while he was down on the ground with a man oncoming to him. And that play was made by the kickback to the keeper, and the keeper cannot pick the ball up under the new rule. And that's exactly what happened. He tried to clear it on his foot, but he cleared it right to Clark to bring it back in again.
Now the pressure is on Persio as he sets up the wall. This is an indirect kick, so it'll have to touch somebody, but look for the pinball action. Clark and Decter. Decter looks like he'll feed it off for Clark, who booms it off the wall. It goes high in the air.
And the ball stays in. Oh, great defensive move to keep that ball in.
Paredes with the move to keep it in. Clark finds an open man. Here's Kaplan walking in, and it's 2-0.
No question about that one.
Charlie Kaplan, the junior midfielder, makes it 2-0.
You'll see the first ball is cleared in. Now it comes back out, and it's beautiful, beautiful by Clark getting the assist on the second time on a first-time header. Kaplan coming in, the goalkeeper coming out, and Kaplan winning the chase.
Kaplan last year scored 2 goals. He's got half that total already in the first half of the first game. And as the MKA Cougars celebrate, there is a lot of discussion going on the Belleville side. And in fact, there has been a change in goal. Mike Persio has been removed from the game. And Mike Guzman comes in. Guzman, the reserve goalie, also a reserve midfielder. And this is not something that Gino DePinto wanted to see, to take out your 2-year starting senior keeper in the first half with barely 14 minutes gone by.
Well, I don't want to second guess a coach. We have a different view of the field. I really don't think either one of those were the fault of the keeper. What happened, I think, was defensive lapses that caused the keeper to have to do what he did.
Well, it was a short-lived trip to the bench as Percio comes back on and Guzman will go out. So Percio back in. What I liked about MKA's strategy there, John, they recognized immediately that there was a new keeper in, and though Monaco perhaps didn't have the best shot, he put one on goal. He said, let me make this guy make a play. It was off net just a little bit, and so Guzman didn't have to do anything, but quick reaction and recognition by MKA.
Maybe hoping for a miss because of the butterflies of a new keeper. I think this game is far from over. Even with a 2-goal lead at this point, you have a very, very good team in Belleville and their offense. And on a short field like this, with the field conditions being what they are, I don't think a lead is going to be safe at all.
Vitella across the far sideline, and we'll have a throw-in for the Cougars, who lead 2-0. Corey Peruse to take the throw-in. Goals by Greg Decter and Charlie Kaplan. Assists on both goals to Kevin Clark. MKA looks very dangerous on the counter-attack. Here's Clark.
Clark has been finding the gaps and the seams all the way through. He's created another corner kick situation by running his diagonals perfectly.
Yes.
And I like Clark. I think he's a dynamite ball player. He's only a junior. He's got great great size, 5'10", 150 pounds. Really ideal size for a soccer player.
Travels all the way from South Plainfield in Middlesex County to come up to MKA. Decter's corner, kept in on the far side, played into the box, and it's headed away.
And again, the Cougars creating opportunities in the midfield, right in front of the goal. There's something happening on defense that I haven't picked out yet, and obviously neither is Gina DePinto, but when they find it, I think you're going to see it much more difficult for the Cougars to penetrate.
John, one of the concerns that Gino DePinto had was this field, and it may be just taking his team some time to get used to a small field.
Well, he plays on a full 120-yard field, not terribly wide, maybe almost the same width as this one, but length is certainly a factor that they haven't learned to deal with yet, or they certainly have to accommodate themselves to it, and they haven't done that as yet.
Kaplan in the air, headed by Toledo, settled by Decter. Left-footed kick for the corner, and it goes long, and we'll have a goal kick. Nice crowd on hand for the home-standing Cougars. A few visitors on the far side from Belleville. As we take a look at the home crowd. Season opener for both teams. So glad that you could join us. We're at Van Brunt Field.
And even though it's overcast, it really is soccer weather. It's a nice, cool...
You know, it's really not that bad. Yesterday, I guess with the rain, it just was a much more raw
miserable
day.
Miserable.
Lousy, stinking day.
There we go. There we go. But we're sitting up here comfortable enough to be in shirt sleeves.
Yeah,
but,
not too bad.
But certainly not suntan weather either.
Oh, no. Joe Colucci to take the free kick into the box and headed away nicely by Siddiqui. Very solid play by this Cougar team, very fundamentally sound, and Howard lets the ball go over his head, says, why not, I'll take the goal kick.
Howard did that very smartly, realizing how soft the ground is, saw the spin, knew which way the ball was going, sort of a home field advantage. Being an experienced player, freshman or otherwise, said, hey, why take a chance on muffing it and causing a corner kick or even a goal?
Howard travels too. He's from New Brunswick in Middlesex County, so I guess he and Clark hook up on the long ride to MKA. Vitella down the wing. Razik has it knocked away by Rabb. Throw in for the Buccaneers. We've played just about half of the first half. It's a 2-0 advantage for MKA.
And we're going to have another stoppage, and we're going to have another card. This may go to the Belleville player this time. What had happened was he was being marked very closely, and he threw an elbow.
And that will cost Anthony Razik a trip to the bench. This has not been a physical game,
No,
John.
not at all.
Yet we've seen 3 yellows.
Well, that was the first one for any kind of rough play. The others were administrative. One for unsportsmanlike conduct by probably a comment to the official, and another one for, I'm trying to think what Terry got his for.
A little slap in the back of the head. Frank Tafur has come on to replace Razik. Looking for the break.
This time, the keeper coming out very nicely. Percio seeing that he could beat Clark, but Clark is extremely quick.
Here's Groling.
Groling double teamed and pushed from behind.
Yeah, foul called on Siddiqui, the sophomore playing the left back position.
And what's happening here, you're seeing Belleville getting a little bit upset even though they got the call because they felt they had the advantage, and even though they were fouled, the advantage was not taken away from them.
So just outside the box, the wall being set up, you look from the perspective of keeper Howard. 4-man wall. Paredes and Minella will set the play. Now Paredes leaves it for Giuseppe Minella.
And you can see how scary that is for a keeper when he can't even see through his own wall.
Minella bullet, but right on.
Minella with a great shot. He just winged it to the wall, but Howard played it perfectly. What was protected by the wall, he didn't worry about. The other side of the wall was his job, and that's what he took.
It was a blast, but Howard kept his position. Any time references we make are unofficial, the official time being kept on the field. Well, we've got about 19 minutes to play in the first half. Matt Lachlan along with John Marcy. In Montclair, Van Brunt Field, the home of the MKA Cougars. Both teams, MKA and Belleville, coming off good seasons last year. They want to improve on that this season, and it is MKA which has opened up with a nice 2-0 lead. Minella, fine individual play, plays it down along the ground. Nobody else there except for Howard, who makes the scoop.
And Howard, although he's a freshman, you did allude to the fact that he's had a lot of select team play, and he's showing that experience. Very cool customer, even though he's a freshman with his opening varsity game.
Stu Ward found fault, and I use that term advisedly, with just one thing, and he says that's really just his decision-making process, but when you realize he's only a freshman, experience is basically what will give him that proper decision-making process. So it's really not a fault, it's more a circumstance of age.
Well, what's happening also is Belleville, by design, has basically a 2-man attack. By having that 2-man attack, it gives Howard a little less to look at, and he can concentrate much more on the ball than surrounding players.
Colucci with the long throw-in, but nobody there except Howard, and he clears it with the long boot.
Howard immediately looked for Clark downfield. I think you're going to see these Cougars, as the season goes along, use that as an offensive weapon. Goalkeeper's clear. We had a handball.
Now handball called on Chris Imperatrice. Dector looking into the box, headed away by Paredes. Paredes is wearing number 6. Normally he wears number 8, but is wearing 6 today. Steve Collette will normally wear 6, but Collette is sitting it out with a sprained ankle. He will be a starter in the back, but not able to suit up because of the injury. Belleville also shorthanded. Joe Coutinho is out with a knee injury.
And folks, we're talking about these injuries. This is a season opener for both squads.
It's been a rough preseason.
Well, some of the teams now get 3 and 4 scrimmages before they get in. A lot of the players play summer league soccer, so
here's Clark in front, just goes through Kaplan, moving on for the shot, and a brilliant save, but it goes in, and the goal is scored by Joe Monaco, and it is 3-0.
And all 3 goals that we've seen today have started with that man, Clark.
He has been the catalyst, and Mike Percio cannot believe it. He makes a brilliant stop, but cannot control the rebound. Hard, too, on such a strong shot.
Well, Clark made the cross coming across. Actually, there was a mistake by the one Cougar player not getting to the ball, and all the Buccaneers came to him. The ball clears to the right side, and suddenly you have Kaplan coming in wide open. Was it Kaplan? I'm not even sure at this point.
No, it was Monaco with the goal.
But again, Clark with his 3rd assist of the game.
John Monaco, not Mike Guzman, who graphically we credit with the goal, but Monaco with the goal. And so Clark the catalyst, and it is 3-0. And I think, should this score stand up, and let's see what we have here. Groeling running into Howard, and we may get a yellow. But if this score holds up, or if it's extended in any way, shape, or form, this is going to open up some eyes in the county, because I am sure there are a number of people, as a yellow is issued to Groeling for running into Howard, and he'll have to step out. I'm sure, John, there are a number of people who realize the amount of starters that Belleville returns this year, and while they acknowledge that MKA had a good season last year, there are people who say, well, it was in that Prep B division. You know, they don't play the Columbias, they don't play the Milburns, the Benedicts, the Bellevilles. They don't play all that strong of a schedule. Yet, this score is going to open up some people to how good this team is. And I think right now, this score has opened the eyes of Gino DePinto, the head coach.
Well, a lot of people are going to have their eyes opened. Earlier this season, you're not going to see it in the newspapers. You're not going to see it in the record books. Perennial state power, Columbia High School, played to a 1-1 tie with this Buccaneer team. Agreed it was early in the season, take nothing away from Gene Chiselwitz's Columbia Cougars. But people are going to start to make those comparisons. Hey,
Sure.
What have they got here at MKA?
Pretty move by Clark, lays it off for Dector. Dector now playing it back to the defense. Kaplan has one of the 3 goals. Ball taken away nicely by Colucci.
And again, the Buccaneers coming up with only 2 attackers and having 5 defenders back, and Howard able to make a very, very easy save.
Anthony Razik has come on to replace Greg Groeling. Razik went off with a yellow, and when Groeling went off with the yellow, Razik came back on. Greg Dector, he scored the opening goal of the season for the Cougars. Here's Clark. Clark has some room. Plays it for Kaplan. Beautiful through ball that just was a little bit behind Kaplan, but good pace on it, just a little off in the direction.
Well, this Buccaneer defense, and I think Gino DePinto's seen it now, this Buccaneer defense is playing flat straight across the field. And what's happening, any player that runs a diagonal for the Cougars is going to be beating that defense. Now, Gino is beginning to see this, and I think he keeps looking towards that defense because they've been able to move the ball upfield. But it's what's happened when at the other end of the field. And it's nothing to do with the ability of the players, it's the positioning they're playing, and that has to be straightened out. The Buccaneers, I've noticed also, when they come back on defense, all their defenders are back, and they're leaving a midfield gap that's wide open with nothing but green and white.
Substitution, Brian Cook coming on for Monaco, but that substitution is not allowed. Ball is on the field.
That's correct. And
not a throw-in.
It must be your possession on a throw-in for the substitution to take place, not for a foul on the field.
Dector with the free kick. Long boot. Percio leaps up. Did he touch it? No.
I don't believe so, because right there, Mike Ferrazza to make the call of goal kick. Now the substitution's allowed.
And Cook comes on, and Monaco goes off. 3-0. And a bit of a surprise in the early going, if not by who has the lead, because MKA is a fine side as we look at Brian Cook, but the margin,
it's a bit of a surprise to me, because I know what this Buccaneer team is capable of, and I think you're going to see a push from behind, and you're going to see Cougars with a direct kick.
And don't forget, this is an MKA team that returns a lot of players from last year. They have some youth at some key positions, including the keeper spot, although Howard's looked very good. But they also graduated their leading scorer, 25-goal scorer, in Eric Kuseluk. So they had some questions coming in. Would the freshman be able to handle things? Would the freshman defender, Steve Rabb, be able to handle things? How about the sophomore, Sharif Siddiqui? And, of course, the freshman keeper, Howard. So youth, loss of a leading scorer, and you have to wonder what this team is going to do. But, boy, they've come out like a house on fire.
Well, I'll tell you what, if this score stands up, a lot of people are going to open up the newspaper and tomorrow, and you're going to see teams like Newark Academy, Pingree, and Princeton Day, Hill School.
Well, Gill St. Bernard's
yeah.
is the team to beat in Prep B. They are the defending champions, and they have a lot of players back from last year's team.
Well, Gill St. Bernard's, a couple of years ago, I had my eyes open to them. They had a game early on in the season with Randolph and beat Randolph 5-1. And Randolph, it's a powerhouse at that time in Group 4. Really,
they've got a good team, no question about it. Led by, among others, Todd Moore, the Union resident. Paredes to take the free kick.
Look for Groening coming in from the left side on this
24 yards out. Plays it for Groening. The header, he's double teamed, and we get a whistle. And it's going to be against Groening. And we'll have a kick from the box.
Groening, I believe, when he came in to take that header, was sort of pushing off a little bit, too. And he didn't really argue the call. He kind of knew.
About 12 minutes remaining in the first half. At halftime, Sandy Lonsinger, the athletic director for MKA, will be my guest, and we'll talk about the athletic program here. And it's a nice program. They offer a wide variety of sports, successful in soccer, successful in football.
I'll be interested in what Sandy has to say. He's a classmate of mine from college.
He tries not to associate you with that, or him with that experience. But since you mentioned it, I guess we'll have to go with it.
Well, we'll have to talk to Sandy later on. He was just jealous that he couldn't get out on the soccer field with us in those days.
Oh, we'll have to ask him about that at halftime. But at any rate, they have a renowned fencing program here at MK. At any rate, we were going to talk about the athletic program at the school with athletic director Sandy Lonsinger at halftime. 3-0 our score. He has to be pleased with the way things have developed in the first half here.
I really am impressed with this MKA squad, and they are showing an awful lot of poise right now, too. Usually a team gets a 3-goal lead, and they're what some people consider an underdog. They all of a sudden, they're a very poised squad.
The real test will come in the opening moments of the second half, after Gino DePinto has had a chance to make adjustments, see how things change, but they look very good through the first 30 minutes.
That they do, and again, you're right about that, Matt. 3 goals, even the way things are going now, 3 goals is nothing to sit on, especially when you've got somebody like Groening playing for the Buccaneers.
One thing that will go against Belleville is we have a foul throw-in call against Toledo, Frank Toledo, is that the field will not get in any better shape. It will not improve, and we're starting to see players lose their footing. It's a very soggy field, does not drain particularly well, and the heavy rains of yesterday combined with no sun to try to dry things up have left a very soft pitch. Razik trying to make a move around the defense. Terry with the good slide tackle. Razik stays with it, but it's cleared by Peruz, not out. Here's Berg handing off to Manella. Good touch play by Belleville, but it's cleared across the far line. We'll have a throw-in for Berg.
Well, that's what Belleville does so well, is move that ball around, and that's the first really great sequence they've had so far in this game.
Solid defensive positioning by MKA. Belleville has had what would be termed dangerous opportunities, as we have a dangerous play. Clark with the foot up high near the head of Berg. We have had what normally, with perhaps some less than perfect defensive posturing, would be dangerous opportunities for Belleville, but balls in the box, direct kicks from 20 yards out, have all been easily handled by this Cougar team.
And play getting awful rough in the middle as we're talking there, Matt. Ball coming up, a couple of hard hits by both teams as they were going for the headers. And of course the Cougars have to be very, very careful while they're inside the area. We have our first corner kick for the Buccaneers.
Stu Ward looking on. His team lost last year in the semifinals of the Prep B playoffs to Princeton Day School. PDS went on to lose to Gill St. Bernard's in the final. Unofficially 8 minutes remaining in the first half. looking for Groeling. Groeling is able to get his head on it, but not do much with it. Groeling getting a little frustrated, John. He's double teamed, well marked by Peruz, and it looks like he got caught tripping up a player. And let's see what we get here. He tripped Brian Cook up.
That's a second yellow card.
Yes, it is.
If that's a second yellow card, he's gone.
And he is gone. Second yellow card, and Greg Groeling has been ejected from the game.
All right, that's a second yellow card that was followed by a red card. That means his suspension is only for this game. It's not a 2-game suspension.
What happened, it was off of the camera. Groeling upset that no call was made when he went up for the header, and as the MKA Cougars were scrambling to move into a defensive position, he stuck his leg out and tripped Brian Cook.
And both referees saw it, and both referees called him in. That was a frustration foul, and that's something an experienced player shouldn't do.
Oh, well, a very fine marking job by Corey Peruz on Groeling, and Groeling showing the frustrations and can't be pleased that his team is down 3-0, and he'll have to watch the rest of the game from the bench.
And not only that, they will play a man shy for the remainder, and that's a long time against this team, especially with a man of Groeling's abilities gone from the lineup. That's going to hurt.
Yeah, they'll only have 10 on the field. Interesting field to lineup here as you come running down the hill for the throw-in.
Well, you have a very, very difficult task for the Buccaneers. Down a man and down 3 goals.
Here's Decter for Rab, the freshman. Lays it off nicely for Clark. Clark taken down. And he's taken down in the box, and guess what?
You're going to have their first penalty kick of the season. And they're all very clear-cut fouls. We can see them right from here, Matt.
Yeah, I mean, Gino DePinto can have no complaint about the calls. They have been clear. His team has done nothing to help themselves. They've been obvious in all of their fouls, and we are going to have a penalty kick, and I think it's going to be Decter taking it. And that is an ejection, by the way. That's the second yellow given to Imperatrice, and Imperatrice goes off. So guess what? They're going to play 2 down for the rest of the game.
That is correct. That was the yellow shown by the red. I did not see his first yellow card before, but...
neither did I, quite frankly.
But we will see now what takes place. But there was a yellow followed by the red, so there must have been a previous caution.
There have been a number. It would not be unusual for us to have missed one. We have had a lot of yellow cards, and it appears as if it's going to be Mitch Decter to take the penalty kick. So Belleville trailing 3-0, on the verge of falling behind 4-0, and they are down 2 men due to second yellow card ejections.
They'll be playing 9 down 3 goals with their top scorer out.
And it is 4-0 as Decter goes to his right, just inside the post, and the Decter brothers each have a goal.
What can you say? It's right there on camera. We've seen it all.
And it is going to be near impossible for this Belleville team as Decter has the big smile on his face. We'll take a look at the penalty kick. Remember, Percio can't move until the ball is touched. Now we're told we do not have the replay, but Decter finding room inside the post, and it is 4-0. And we don't normally say this, but folks, if you want to turn it off and watch something else, because the chances are this is not going to turn into much of a match in the remaining part of it, because Belleville down 2 men and down 4-0.
Well,
stick and watch it. You've seen a good display of soccer by MKA.
Yes, you have.
Stick around.
And I think you should stay around to see what a team can or can't do when they're down, because I have seen teams respond sometimes to the negatives.
Clearly, John, the difficulty is if you press the attack, you're wide open for counterattack, and we have seen that that is where MKA is perhaps its most dangerous.
Counterattacking.
Oh,
absolutely.
no question. And unless you just want to keep the score reasonably respectable and go into a complete defensive shell, what you've done then is given up any hope of winning. So it's a very difficult position the Buccaneers find themselves in.
Oh, absolutely.
If they want to just preserve some dignity, if you will, in this first game, then they're going to go into a defensive shell and admit that they have no chance to win.
Well, what they're going to have to do basically is play 3 fullbacks, 3 fullbacks, and 2 midfielders, and then hope for some fast breaks. What you're going to have to see is a long ball game. Time is out. Mike Ferrazza pulling his yellow card again.
And who is he going to give it to? He's going to give it to Joe Colucci, who had been tripped by Cook. Colucci thought a foul should have been called.
And it was.
But unfortunately, he did something again away from the ball to retaliate.
Well,
and
again,
Mike
Ferrazza with the unsportsmanlike. So there had to be some kind of dissent. Maybe he felt that a caution should have been issued. Verbal discipline is certainly something that the Buccaneers are going to have to work on, because that's cost them 3 of their cards that we've seen so far today.
Into the box, ball skips to Howard.
And this is where Howard's going to have to be careful, but again, that's to his advantage, because in the second half, he's going to be at, if there is such a thing, the drier side of the field.
Early on, 4 minutes in or so, Greg Decter scored to open things up for MKA. Kevin Clark with the assist, and it's been all downhill from there for Belleville. Kaplan with the goal, Monaco with the goal, Mitch Decter with the goal off the PK. Belleville down 2 players. Groeling and Imperatrice have each been ejected after receiving their 2nd yellow card. Under 5 minutes showing unofficially on the clock. Here's Decter, has Clark to his left. Good through ball for Clark, and a fine job coming over by Marcello Girolando. Clark found some room. Decter found him with the nice through ball, but Girolando coming over quickly. And we'll have a throw-in. Decter will take it. With the narrow field, you should be able to get this ball well into the middle of the penalty box.
Nice header by Clark to bring it back in again.
Greg Decter sends it in, handled by Percio.
And I'm sure that coach is looking at the younger Decter and saying, "Wow, here we go again."
Well, he said to me he's a clone of his brother. He said he will be a very fine player, and he is just like his older brother Mitch in terms of ability and temperament and leadership. Just a freshman. So 3 freshmen on the field. Greg Decter, Steve Rabb, Tim Howard. And this club with a 4-0 lead.
What's happening with this Belleville team is they're going to take the direct kick here, which was actually quite nice. He curved it over the wall, but it was wide of the net. What's happening with this Belleville team? There's a lot of frustration going on now. And off camera, wide of what we can see, there are little things happening that Belleville's not helping themselves with. Some bickering, maybe what we would commonly call cheap shots. And this is one thing that Coach DePinto at halftime is going to have to say, look, this game may be lost, but this is where you've got to straighten it out now.
Throw in on the far side as we have about 3 minutes to go. Gino DePinto not happy at all. His team has not acquitted itself this afternoon.
No, but they still have 40 minutes that they can, whether the game be lost or not, a lot can be learned, and a lot can be talked about. Intestinal fortitude.
Well, they'll find out their next game. They take on St. Joseph's on Tuesday, a game that they could win and perhaps should win, although they'll have to correct some things between now and then. But then after that, they've got Hackensack, and Hackensack is one of the teams that are going to challenge in that Pacific Division of the NNJIL.
Well, I saw Hackensack in a scrimmage earlier against Lyndhurst. Caparata, former Milburn coach who has done an outstanding job, played Hackensack to a 1-1 tie. Hackensack Group 4, Lyndhurst Group 2, but Lyndhurst a very tough program. Gus Migliori's boys at Hackensack, always a challenge.
Yeah, Gino feels that it'll be, as the half comes to an end with the whistle, he feels it'll be Hackensack, Teaneck, and Don Bosco challenging along with Belleville for the title. A surprise. The first 40 minutes have come and gone, and MKA on top by a score of 4-0. Belleville losing 2 players to second yellow cards. It's been all MKA. We have 40 minutes remaining. We invite you to stay with us at halftime. When we come back, Sandy Lonsinger, the athletic director of MKA, will be my guest. And we invite you to stay with us as Gino DePinto takes the long walk to talk to his team. We'll be back after this.
TV3 brings you the best of local programming. If you haven't tuned in lately, look at what you've missed. So be sure to watch Suburban Cablevision's TV3.
Welcome back to Van Brunt Field, everyone. Matt Lachlan, along with the athletic director at MKA, Sandy Lonsinger. 4-0 score at halftime. Sandy, you are obviously pleased with that result.
Happy with the boys.
Your thoughts of the first half as you see it?
I thought our kids are doing a great job. Nice to have a good goalie. Speed, big factor. Coaches have done a great job of getting the kids in shape. And we're, our soccer's on the up, so we're happy.
First game of the season for the soccer team. Football about to open up. Earlier this week, we saw the girls' tennis team for MKA underway. What does the fall season hold?
Fall season should be good. We have a lot of freshmen and sophomores. Football team was excellent last year. Rebuilding this year. They open tomorrow with the Hackley School. It's an independent school from New York. Tennis goes with 3 freshmen, and they're going to be young, but they're going to be a team to be reckoned with. Girls soccer's building. Field hockey should be real good, and we're working hard.
Tell us a little bit about, and I know we've got a long fall to go before we worry about the winter and the spring, but tell us overall about the athletic programs here at MKA.
Okay, we offer almost all the sports that the public schools do, plus a lot of them do not offer field hockey, which we do. We have an enrollment of just about 400, and we split between those. Our big concern here is our facilities, because this is our main field. We do have some more fields at the middle school, which is at another campus, so we have to shuttle people down there for practices. That's where our tennis courts are. But we do a nice job. Admissions is doing a great job, really getting out, and we're very happy with everything that's going on here.
And of course, MKA also one of the schools that offers fencing.
Fencing, we're state champs last year. We have an outside coach that comes in who's one of the top fencing coaches in the state. We have 30 or 40 kids that fence. A lot of them do it all year. A lot of kids are fencing in college, which is a big draw for us, which is nice.
What is the education mission for the school?
Well, this is a college preparatory school. We're in the business of educating our kids to think. We work a lot on critical thinking, a lot of emphasis on achievement. Okay, our teachers, many of our teachers, we encourage them to coach, and that's a big key when we recruit or teachers come to this school. We want to make sure that they can help out in the athletics or in some other area of the school. And once again, our administration is doing a super job with teachers coming here who coach and have played.
Well, Sandy, thank you for being a gracious host. Enjoy the second half as
Thank you.
we look forward to the second half. MKA against Belleville. The Cougars on top by a score of 4-0. John and I will be back with second half action right after this.
If you are caring for an elderly family member and feel overwhelmed, help may be available through your community's geriatric assessment program. The assessment program brings a team of geriatric specialists, physicians, nurse practitioners, and social worker together with the elderly patient and caregiver for a comprehensive evaluation of the patient's needs. The team obtains a comprehensive medical history, evaluates all prescription and over-the-counter medications, as well as all the patient's functional and nutritional needs. The team also evaluates the patient's cognitive function, mood, judgment, and how safely the patient operates in the home. Finally, the team examines the patient's social and financial support systems. Following the assessment, the team recommends programs and services that meet the patient's and the caregiver's needs. To find out about geriatric assessment programs in your area, call your local hospital, Senior Citizen Center, or County Division on Aging.
Matt Lachlan, John Marcy back at Van Brunt Field, and that score is accurate. MKA 4, Belleville nothing after 1/2 of play. And that man, Greg Groeling, will see no more action today. He, along with Chris Imperatrice, have received double yellows, and they have been asked to leave the field. And Belleville playing down 2 players and trailing by 4 goals, and they have a rather uphill climb.
More like K2 or Mount Everest.
It will not be easy. The goal scorers, by the way, Greg Decter, Charlie Kaplan, John Monaco, excuse me, and Mitch Decter.
And Coach just loves to see a 4-goal lead, but what he likes even better is to see them coming from 4 different players. When you have that much diversity in your scoring, who is another team going to key on?
Mitch Decter, long ball, nobody there except Percio. Now the interesting thing to see, John, will be what Gino DePinto's strategy is. Is he going to try in the first few moments to get his team back into the game and see what can happen? Is he going to sit down or sit back, I should say, and try to keep it respectable down by 2, down 2 men, but down by 4 goals?
I think probably neither. I think at this point, when you're down 2 players, you're down 4 goals, a coach has to keep your morale up. And keeping the morale up is probably the toughest thing. You probably have to say, well, I've got 16, 17 more games left this year. This is only 1 game. I'm going to have to kind of throw this one out the window. Now, I don't have to start all over again, but I've got to take the bad points from this game and I've got to build and bring some good things. Let's bring in the fortitude of what you're going to do when your back's against the wall. I know full well what's going to happen when I talk to the officials at halftime, that all these cards we're seeing are for unsportsmanlike type activities, that's going to be a big factor.
Goal kick. Just underway in the second half. Belleville in the blue with the white trim. MKA in the green trunks with the white jerseys with the blue and green trim. Van Brunt Field, the home of the MKA Cougars. And our thanks to Sandy Lonsinger, the athletic director at MKA, who, John, at halftime, we did not talk about it on the air, but while we were waiting for the interview, said he would really prefer if you don't mention that you two were classmates. He's really rather embarrassed by the association.
That he had to sit on the bench all those years, I guess.
We'd also like to thank, while we have the opportunity, Karen Fusello, the athletic director at Belleville High School. Karen on hand today, sitting over on the Belleville bench, and we'd like to thank her for her help in granting us permission to do this game. We'll have a throw-in for MKA, and here's where this Hill can come into play. This time Decter electing just to take the short, quick throw to Clark, and Clark tried to return it, but was inaccurate in the return. But that Hill does come into effect.
And you can see on your screens the different color lines. Well, the width of the field, they're playing very small here, the same as the football width, but the orange lines are to designate the soccer field, where the white lines designate the football. It is a multi-purpose field.
And it's held up reasonably well, given the fact that we had rain yesterday and
actually right up through this morning.
Yeah, we had some rain this morning. You're right. There have been some patches where players have slipped, but on the whole, it's held up well. I know that was a concern in the athletic department, but the thought was it is the season opener. It's the game that everyone points to. There is nothing like a season opener. It is unique. It's no longer for fun. It's no longer scrimmage. It's no longer preseason. It's the real thing. And you don't want to wait any longer than you have to get the season underway. And I also think that perhaps there was something working on the minds of the athletic department officials, and that was, hey, you know, we have a pretty good team here, and we're going to play one of the public schools that people think has a chance to make some noise in the county, in the state, and this is a good chance to show people how good we're going to be. I'm not sure that they, and I'm certainly sure Belleville didn't think it would be 4-0 at the half.
I don't think any of us thought it would be 4-0 at halftime here. There's been a little, not a little, I think a lot of shock on both sides as to what this score is. Here's a great breakaway for the Buccaneers.
Coming into the box, no one off to his right, so he has to do it by himself, and Alon Terry comes in with a slide tackle. We will have a corner kick. No one coming back to help him, but there aren't that many players to help him. They're down 2.
They're down 2. Alon Terry coming back to make a great defensive play. And, surprisingly, he was the only one that came back to make the play.
Minella with the corner. Free ball. Vitella, low shot, cleared away by Kaplan. Sent back in and wide.
And Belleville actually showing some pretty good offensive thrust there. They've got people that can shoot the ball, but the thing is now they've got nobody that can get the ball upfield because they're down by 2 players.
Diego Paredes with the shot that goes wide, setting up the goal kick by Tim Howard. They're also without their career leading scorer, Greg Groling, with 52 career goals. He, the Belleville leader in that department. Here's a through ball from Monaco, looking for his second goal, and he sends it high. John, do you know who holds the record for, or had held the record for goal scores? As we look at Karen Fusello, the athletic director, talking to Greg Groling. Probably, I would imagine, based on her motions, saying, you know, you're the senior, you're a captain, you've got to keep your wits about you, would be an appropriate comment if that's what she was making. But at any rate, do you know who held the record for career goals prior to Groling's breaking it?
At Belleville.
At Belleville.
Do I get any hints? Like, well, did he play for the Cosmos?
I'm not sure if this part of the family did, but you're thinking along the same lines as me. I mean, the great name that came out of Belleville is the Borja family.
Right.
But
I was thinking of Chico.
It was not Chico, no. Santiago Borja. Ooh, misplay in the back, almost costly, but nobody there for MKA.
Pretty good for not knowing the history of Belleville, but knowing soccer and knowing what comes from that area, it had to be in almost on the same pitch.
Mm-hmm. MKA not content, clearly, at this point, to settle for the 4-0 win.
No, but what's happening, I can see they're being almost too relaxed and too deliberate in some of their passes. They've got to be careful. With a 4-goal lead, the game is probably not out of reach. That's not going to be a penalty kick. I think that's going to be just to the outside. I believe that's just to the outside of the penalty area. You definitely have the push there. And it's going to be direct for the Cougars, but yes, it's being placed just inches outside the penalty area.
Clark setting it up, Dector there, Kaplan there.
But to finish that, MKA cannot be content to just sit on things and be too deliberate, because it could get costly. Would they lose the game? I doubt it, but certainly they could. It could cost them a goal or two, and I think they'd like to see a shutout at this point.
One hopper handled by Percio off the right foot of Clark. 8 minutes gone by in the second half. Matt Lachlan, John Marcy. The start of our high school soccer coverage. Our next game will be a watch-on conference affair. It'll be Union hosting the Linden Tigers. Here's a ball in the box. Greg Dector comes out, and it just goes wide, deflected off of Dector. Although Dector saying it's a corner, the official, Jose Madalena, says no, it went off of you, Greg, and so therefore it will be a goal kick. Substitution for the Buccaneers, Mike Guzman comes in. He came in earlier for, I'd say 10, 15 seconds as the keeper. We found out the reason why Percio was taken out in the first half, and it was not any frustration on the part of DePinto with his play, because, John, you correctly said that those 2 goals he was taken out after it was 2-0 were not his fault. The fact is, after the second goal, he received a yellow card, and so Guzman came in for just a moment, and now he's back on the field. Monaco crosses, nobody there. Settled now on the far side by Greg Dector. Dector plays it for Clark. Clark looking to see if anyone's near him, and coming up is Marcello Girolando. Girolando, long ball.
Which is about all he could do. Girolando did a very nice job, because Clark's been tough to mark all day long, and he took the ball away from him cleanly.
Kaplan, a little too far from Monaco. Ball knocked across the sideline by Guzman. It'll be a throw-in for MKA.
It's a beautiful location here up on the, I guess we'd call this the first mountain, as we're on the west end of Montclair, just outside Verona, looking down towards Bloomfield and Newark. It is a gorgeous location.
Yes, it is.
The campus buildings in back of us.
Particularly picturesque in the fall when the leaves change color. Here's a ball in front, and Percio quick off the doorstep to make the play.
Percio really in a crowd on that one, and adding to the fact that the ground and the footing are not that great in that area.
Mitch Dector has removed himself from the field momentarily. He's trying to stretch out a cramp.
And in so doing, he tripped the player in the, on the far end of the field. He's coming back upfield. He wants to stay in. He's not asking to go out.
Guzman to take the free kick.
Guzman with a nice ball, but MKA making a mistake there that they can afford to make now. Double teaming the player when really only one defender is necessary. But being that they are up 2 players, that they can afford to do something like that. But if that one player is beaten, we're now equal.
This Monday evening on Time In at 7:30. We hope you can join us on TV3. We're going to talk about high school soccer, and among our guests, Tom Bresnitsky, the veteran and highly successful coach of the Scotch Plains Raiders, Group 3 state champs. Graduated an awful lot, but that's a program that tends to reload rather than rebuild. And they opened up their season with a victory over Harrison.
1-0. That was an outstanding team, 2 outstanding clubs.
Well, both went to the finals last year. Scotch Plains winning,
and
Harrison.
A 2-0 loser to,
Yes.
I believe, Delran, was it?
Yes.
And that was one of those games that Harrison did everything but score the goals.
Columbia was the 3rd team from the TV3 area that went to a state final, and they wound up losing to Shawnee.
Shawnee has certainly been a thorn in their side over the last several seasons.
That is for sure.
Shawnee, an outstanding program down in the Medford area.
Columbia again expected to be very strong. Scotch Plains, Harrison expected to be strong. Seton Hall Prep will be good. Milburn will be good in the county. Don't forget St. Benedict's as we have a foul, and let's see what Jose Madalena says. He just says, we're going to have to ask you to leave, son, because that's a yellow, and it's going to be issued to Marcello Girolando. You know, at this point, the officials will take absolutely nothing. It's been a rough game. There have been a lot of unsportsmanlike fouls, and any foul like that, a trip, they're just going to, if it's even close to being questionable, you'll be asked to leave.
Yeah, it's at this point, control is a big factor. The officials have to look.
Brian Cook coming back on for MKA, and Monaco checks off.
Not only that, to maintain the decorum that they started right through the game, it would be unfair to say, okay, we're going to be more liberal now than we were earlier. You have to maintain that same level, and they have done so. They've done an excellent job.
Offside, off the free kick. 4-0 our score, 4 first-half goals by the Cougars. And if you're just joining us, Belleville playing 2 men down, as they have lost 2 men via second yellow cards. Here's Greg Dector. Dector with the left foot cross, looking for Clark, too far, a little too high, not by much, just a little, and Percio was there. Short kick by Percio. Steve Rabb settles it. Here's Mitch Decter. Decter, good run through with the ball. Oh, he tried to cut it back into Cook, and we have an offside on the play.
And Kevin Clark saying, no, not me, but in fact it was Clark. You could see from here, and of course with the assist of the football lines, you can get a good perception of who is offsides.
You were asking in the first half about whether or not Steve Rabb was any relation to George Rabb, and the answer is no. Sandy Lonsinger informed us at halftime.
Different spellings entirely. But George, the former coach here, and still a member of the faculty, and a fine, fine gentleman.
Frank Tafur will take the throw in. Giorlando comes back in, and Paredes will go out. Now Tafur leaves the ball for Colucci, so Joe Colucci will take the throw in. Given the fact that Belleville is down 2 players, they have settled down nicely. They're playing much better here in the second half, and in fact, something for them to build on for the next game. And I'm sure Gino DePinto at practice tomorrow will say, fellas, we let ourselves, we hurt ourselves. We let ourselves emotionally get out of our game plan. It hurt us, and there was nothing we could do about it. But they have done some things nicely that he'll be able to build on. They're much more under control. They're much more settled in their positioning.
And to his credit, I think that is one of the areas you can build on. You have a push there. It's going to be coming back up for the MKA Cougars. But Belleville still has to learn that the contact in the game has to be incidental and not primary. What you're seeing there is a very possible penalty kick.
Corey Peruse pushing off, and that's what we're going to have, a penalty kick as Peruse pushes Manella to the ground.
And it's exactly what I said. The consistency of the officials right through this game has been that way. And there was the obvious push. It was inside the area. Mike Ferrazza could have said, well, you know, this game is gone. Let's just let it go. But no, he maintained that consistency, and I think that's a good sign for an official.
And guess what? If Manella can put it home here, it's 4-1, and we have about 25 minutes to play.
Now, let's see what happens.
It's that kind of a day. Brilliant save by Howard coming off the line to stop Manella, and it has been that kind of an afternoon for the Belleville Buccaneers. Nothing going right. Very rarely do you see a keeper making the save off the line, and Howard making the play.
Howard guessed. You could see that he leaned to his left. He didn't move his feet until the ball was kicked. As the ball was kicked, he leaned, he came in, and he guessed right. And that's all it is a guess.
And if Belleville emotionally thought they had any chance in this game, it might have gone by the boards with that save by Howard. So the freshman coming up big on the penalty kick, stopping Manella. Good give and go here. Here's Clark just outside the box. Soft shot, spinning shot that Percio has a little trouble controlling.
When I got here earlier, I saw Belleville, and a lot of teams won't do this, practicing some penalty kicks. And a lot of goalkeepers will sit there and watch the opposition practice the penalty kicks. What side do they go to? Who was taking them? I don't know. I would have a hunch that if Grolian was in, he would probably be taking them. But Howard nevertheless guessed right, and that's what counts. The ball did not go into the net.
Howard benefited a little bit, too, by the fact that he did not have to go very far to make the save. The ball was kind of sent right toward the middle part of the goal. But I will take nothing away from a keeper who can stop a penalty kick.
You know, sometimes I've seen keepers guess left or guess right, and they will move that way, and guess what? The ball goes right up the middle.
So the freshman making his first varsity start.
Coming up real strong.
Coming up very strong in his play. Decter, a whirlwind, never stops moving. Clark can't control. Belleville throw in.
Gee, and Howard's only a freshman. That's scary. Big kid too, 6'1".
And apparently a very fine basketball player, and looks like he'll be playing that sport here in the fall.
That's a push off. What's happening here is a little bit of frustration starting sitting in after missing that PK. Belleville's starting to feel that frustration creep back in again. And at this point for the Buccaneers, I don't think this game can end any too soon.
4-0 our score. I mentioned the Union Linden game that will be coming your way in a week on TV3. After that, we're back in Essex County for Columbia and Seton Hall Prep. And that should be a very interesting matchup. Seton Hall has done wondrous things under Marty Berman. He has done so much to improve that program. And of course, Columbia, well, needless to say, Columbia among the elite year in and year out in soccer.
Oh, great run.
Colucci not giving up on the ball.
No, and only getting in there a fraction of a second too late. Howard already had made the save, but supposing he bobbles the ball.
Nice play by Clark, tries to go to Kaplan. Belleville turning it back. Not much that the Buccaneers can do, playing with just 9 men on the field.
You alluded to that great Iron Hills Conference matchup of the Pony Pirates and Columbia. Gene Chisowitz, as you say, the elite, but Marty has done a wonderful job up there at Seton Hall. And every time you think they're going to be down, they lost a bunch of seniors. We think of Dougie Nevins a couple of years ago, went off to Rutgers, All-Stater. Always a tough team. They came up big the other day in their opener against Morris Knowles in the Iron Hills Conference.
Yeah, Marty's always got a good team. A product of that Columbia program.
That he is. So there's all the natural rivalry there too. Boy, I like to beat my old coach.
The word is that Montclair might be suffering a somewhat subpar year, but you know, Jackie Weber, what's subpar for Jack Weber and Montclair is a good season for a lot of other teams.
Yeah, I had the good fortune to officiate a scrimmage between Montclair and Milburn a week ago Saturday, and when I say the good fortune, because they're two outstanding clubs. Montclair came up a winner 1-0, but Milburn had the better of play. Two clubs I can see that are going to go places, and gee, that could have been a prelim to a late round game in the Essex County tournament this season.
Of course, we'll be televising the semifinals and the finals. Semifinals held on Halloween this year, October 31st.
You going to wear your mask that day, Matt?
Yes, and you'll be taking yours off. I
knew that was coming.
Colucci will take the corner. Howard does a good job punching it out. Playing aggressively, comes out to punch it out, and now here's the race. Percio will come off the line and clears it away. Throw in for the Cougars.
Percio doing the right thing, because Clark looked like he was beginning to win that foot race. And Percio saw that. He came out and he just cleared the ball.
Dector for Clark. Nice move by Clark. Gets around Girolando into the box. Still with it, taken down, and guess what?
Penalty
We're going to
kick.
have our second penalty kick awarded to MKA. Third PK of the game. Second that MKA has been awarded. Mitch Dector took the penalty kick the first time. Let's see who is given the opportunity this time around.
Talking to Stu. Stu looking very, very relaxed on the sideline at this point as we look at him. Looks like Kevin Clark's going to get an opportunity.
Well,
he's got
why
three
not?
assists. He's got 3 assists. Why can't he get a chance to put one in the net?
Well, absolutely, and it was his speed and his skills that resulted in the Belleville player having to take him down. So why not?
Nobody arguing the call. It was very obvious, right out in the middle of the area. He approaches, kicks
And
to
he scores.
Puts it into Percio's left. Percio not really having much of a chance. Did a nice job of it, because as he ran up on the ball, he approached the ball as if he was going to Percio's right, but he was able to shift and put the ball to Percio's left. Percio having no chance as he put it very close to the post.
So for Clark, his first goal of the season. We'll take a look at it again, John.
You'll see him as he swings around on the ball and then comes back, and it looks like he hit that with the outside of his foot. regardless of what side of the foot it went in the net.
And it is 5-0. And a message has been sent out to Essex County Soccer that Columbia, Milburn, St. Benedict's, and don't count out this Cougar team.
No, MKA, I think, might be wishing this game wasn't on TV, because they may be the best kept secret until our viewers see this match.
Good head flick by Robin Gorvara, who has come on as DePinto goes to the bench here late in this game. 5-0 MKA on top. We've got about 18 minutes to play. Again, that's unofficial. The official time kept on the field. Here's Decter, Mitch Decter, taken down, and let's see, no, that one a little bit too much of an Academy Award job.
Yeah, but we are going to have a corner kick out of the play, because the ball did go over the end line, I believe.
MKA goes to the bench. Alex Mangili comes on, and Kevin Clark goes off and receives a nice round of applause from the fans here. Clark, I'm sure, done for the day. Here's Decter with the corner, big in-swing header, ball free, and Percio comes off the line. Steve Rabb, the freshman, tumbles to the turf. It'll be a throw-in, or no, excuse me, a direct kick, as he was taken down on the foul by Guzman. So Greg Decter will take the free kick.
Taken to the far side, it headed over a little bit. I believe it's going to go over for a corner.
It went off Girlando's head, so we will have a corner. Up next for the Cougars is Blair Academy, and that game will be played tomorrow, and then next week they host Cedar Grove, the Blair game also here at home. So they open up with 3 straight games at home. Mangili puts the foot on it out to the wing for Rabb. Rabb tries to turn it back in, and we'll have a goal kick.
Blair a 2-1 winner over Belvedere the other day. Blair always a tough opponent. I've had that contest on the same field on several occasions, and these two schools, when they get together, it's sort of like we used to talk about the old.
Off the miss kick, Decter comes in, and Percio does a nice diving stop.
Outstanding stop by Percio, able to get a hand on it, deflect it to keep it from going into the net.
Decter very alert off the mistaken goal kick, came in, and a fine play by Percio to prevent it from going to 6-0. Decter grimacing a little bit there, maybe the cramps acting up again as he works his way up the hill for the corner.
You get his eye view as it goes over Percio's head and all the way out to the far touchline.
Here's Cook, Brian Cook. Left foots it into the box, knocked away by Toledo, and a throw-in for the Cougars.
As you can see, everything's concentrating more and more towards Percio. The Buccaneers are getting tired now. They're playing 9 against 11, and it's an uphill battle without a rope, and they're doing whatever they can, and it really isn't enough.
Not enough, and I'm not sure that if it was 11 aside for the entire game that it would have mattered much. MKA looked that good in the early going. You know, things have slowed down a little bit. It's hard to play with that same enthusiasm and energy when you've got the big lead.
So Girlando winning that foot race, and of course, see the Buccaneer goal kick.
Winding down to a close. Opening match for both teams, and Gino DePinto has some things to work on. I'll tell you, he'll have no trouble getting his team's attention at practice tomorrow.
None whatsoever. And if you've ever talked to Gino, when he raises his voice, you do tend to listen. Very heavy Italian accent, and I have a hunch he's going to say some things that I'm glad I don't understand Italian.
Shaking his head on the sideline, boy, I'll tell you, he cannot wait to get off this field and onto the bus and begin the rebuilding, almost more emotionally than physically. I mean, this team came out with 7 starters returning, and admittedly, a couple of players not playing because of injury. I'm not sure that had that much of an effect on the outcome of this game. But here's a team with 7 starters returning off a 14-4-2 season, and very high expectations, and emotionally he's got to mend the wounds.
Well, these guys started off last year, I think it was 9-0, 10-0 before they even suffered their first loss. The teams they did lose to were real good teams that went far in the States, and they kind of felt, hey, we're in Essex County, this is the powerhouse of soccer. And now all of a sudden they're losing their first game to, and I don't mean to put MKA down for it, but the Johnny-come-lately. And you know, there's a lot of psychological rebuilding that has to be done. Certainly we have the talent and the physical wherewithal to have a real fine side here.
Joe Pettori has come on the pitch for MKA. The applause you heard a moment ago for Mitch Decter, who has gone to the bench and will put the warm-up on, and he's done for the afternoon. As Stu Ward goes to his bench with the big 5-0 lead and time running out here. Stu Ward learned under one of the greats, John. Played defense at Pingree
Under
Miller
the famous
Bugliari.
Miller Bugliari, winningest coast in the state's history. And still active.
Yes, defending Somerset County champs, the Big Blue of Pingree. They defeated Gill St. Bernard in the Somerset County final, as a matter of fact, last year. And I was saying to Stu that when Pingree was located in Hillside, we were looking forward to it each year, televising a Big Blue soccer match, because they are so well coached and Bugliari is so well thought of in the coaching ranks. But unfortunately they moved out to the Martinsville section of Bridgewater for a lot of good reasons. It's a beautiful campus, they have a lot more room. I understand fully the reasons as we look at Decter on the bench, but the truth of the matter is we don't see the Big Blue all that often anymore, and that's a hole in our schedule, because they truly were one of the real good ones. Persio racing Mangili, and Persio clears it across the line.
My Miller Bugliari story was one year they were playing Newark Academy, and I don't know what the situation was, and my partner made a call that Miller took exception to, and Miller, who never loses his cool, lost his cool a little bit and said something he shouldn't, and I had to issue him a yellow card. Miller, the gentleman that he is, was after the game. I have never seen a person in my life more apologetic. It's the type of gentleman he is. Spent a lot of time this summer working with the volunteers that are going to be working at the World Cup this next year.
Guzman trying to clear it. Siddiqui playing it across. Here's Pettori. Through ball for Mangili. Girolando steps in front of it, and here's Guzman.
Girolando quietly has been a very effective player on defense for the Buccaneers today, which for you viewers it might be difficult to understand being effective when you're down 5-0, but he's done a very solid job in there.
Offside on Pettori on the far side. Pettori a senior. Mangili a senior. So some of the reserves that have come on are seniors playing there last year for MKA. A chance to share the TV spotlight.
Not just the TV spotlight, but get some playing experience. This is an opening game. It's a long season. You need some experience in there to get that playing done.
You know, as much as Gino DePinto have an easy time at practice tomorrow, and as much as he'll be able to get his team's attention.
Oh, yeah.
The interesting thing on the other side will be how MKA reacts to this victory. They've got Blair tomorrow. Very little time to prepare.
Less than 24 hours.
Sleep on it, come out and play them at home. And it will be interesting to see how much this big win goes to their heads and whether or not they're able to maintain an emotional stability that enables them to play the type of game that they're capable of playing. And whether or not they drop down a little bit in intensity. I mean, it would be somewhat natural if that were to occur.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see how they respond. Substitution will be made at goal as freshman Tim Howard comes out and senior Eli Slider comes on. And so Howard goes out, his first varsity game under his belt, and a fine performance by the freshman from New Brunswick as the senior slider comes on. If there was any doubt as to how the freshman would react in his first varsity game, they were dispelled today. And Giorlando is going to be taken out of the game, I believe.
Yes, I do.
Off the ball, Giorlando just took a nice left-footed kick to the back of Brian Cook's legs. And that's his second yellow, and he's gone.
And we are down now to 8 players for the Buccaneers. And I believe that Jose was extremely generous in giving him only a yellow card as a second yellow. He could have lifted his red card right out, and it would have been a 2-game suspension.
Giorlando now coming off and talking to Gino DePinto.
Gino DePinto not at all happy because he saw that play.
And Giorlando doesn't seem to be too perturbed by it, but Giorlando did haul off and had good aim.
Yeah, well, that's...
He made his mark, there's no question about it. But unfortunately, clearly unsportsmanlike and not called for, and got the deserved second yellow, and will sit out the remaining few moments of this game. And so Belleville has lost 3 men to double yellows. Just all around a game that this team would like to forget. Mangili's goal will not count as he was offside and ahead of the play.
So as everybody starts to cheer, they stop quickly as they see the offside called.
5-0 to score. It was 4-0 at half. Kevin Clark with 3 assists in the first half, scoring on a penalty kick here in the second half for the 5th goal of the game. Nothing gone right for Belleville. They had a penalty kick stopped by Howard. They were down early in the game. They've lost men to double yellows.
In disarray at this point. Disarray.
Just not a good way for the Buccaneers to open the season. Some more substitutions for the Cougars. Steve Del Calo comes on. And John Saroff comes on. And Rab goes off. Kaplan goes off. There's Saroff. He's a senior. I don't believe there's anyone else on the bench that MKA can bring in. They've gone to the well, and they've emptied it. Everyone has seen action in the season opener. Stu Ward this week, John, was very confident about his team's chances. We see now why. Here's Mangili. Paturi in the box, tries to play it back to Mangili. Toledo with a little trouble. Here's Saroff, it's deflected, and it goes high. Saroff almost with the goal off the deflection by a defender in front.
And we have a corner kick. Stu knows his players, and he knows his team. Obviously, he was confident with good reason.
Oh, yeah.
We've seen outstanding play today from numerous areas. This MKA team is a team that's going to be reckoned with this season.
Good team speed, benefiting from playing the sport year-round now. Although there are multi-sport players, by year-round they play in the summer. They'll play a basketball or a hockey in the winter and a baseball or a tennis in the spring. But in the summer they are, for the most part, playing soccer. And there's nothing like playing the game.
Well, I think any quality program. I worked during the summer at a summer soccer league in Verona, and you'll see schools and individuals from Wayne Valley High School, from Caldwell, who's trying to come up, from several other programs, and those that play during the summer, those are the ones that are going to improve.
Approximately 5 minutes remaining in today's contest. Our first week has come to an end. 2 tennis matches and a soccer match to kick things off. Next week, football returns to TV3 as we begin with doubleheader action. The Roselle Park Panthers, defending state champions in North 2 Group 1, will go to take on the Johnson Regional Crusaders. Of course, Johnson and Brearley High Schools merging to some extent, the seniors to be moving on to Johnson. Those who are going to be juniors and sophomores moved on to Dayton High School when Burley closed. But at any rate, Bob Taylor, that's the big story. Bob Taylor, the Burley head coach, now the head coach at Johnson, so that'll be an interesting game. And the other half of our doubleheader, Harrison High School going up to take on the Secaucus Patriots. And that Patriot team has something to prove. Last year, 7-2 on the field, but because one of the reserves, it turned out to be that he was ineligible, saw very few plays in a handful of games. They had to forfeit all those games, so they wound up with a 3-6 record, and that left a bit of a bitter taste in the mouth of the Patriots, and they are fired up to show that there is some talent in the program, and they know they won 7 games, but it's just it'll go down in history as a 3-6 season. Cook tries to make his way between the defense. Toledo tries to clear it, and he's able to as he plays it up to Guevara. Robin Guevara now loses it. Sharif Siddiqui looking for Mangili on the through ball. Here's Cook coming in, lays it off for Mangili. Now Cook with the left foot sends it wide. See, Cook's more used to stopping shots. Great goalie for the hockey team. He had a couple of 60-plus save performances for the hockey team, which is a credit to him, and a little bit of an admonishment to the defense in front of him, I'd say, John.
An MKA, a good hockey program.
Yeah. But he had a couple of really fine games. Named the Devils Player of the Month for one of the months of the season last year. But at any rate, much more used to stopping the ball as opposed to taking a shot on goal. Here's Minella working in, trying to end the shutout, but Belleville's attack bogging down once again.
Mike Guzman doing what coaches tell you not to do, pinching in from the opposite side and kind of losing the offensive thrust, but now turning the ball very nicely and bringing it back in for an
Slider.
An easy save for Slider. Big booming kick.
And that will do it. Time has run out, and the Cougars celebrating. Stu Ward and assistant Ferdy DiMatteo shaking hands. By the looks on their faces, it was a performance that they somewhat were expecting. A 5-0 whitewash by the Cougars over the Belleville Buccaneers. We're going to take a short break here. We'll come back and speak to a couple of the Cougars and the head coach, so stay with us. We'll be back right after this.
With news from Capitol Hill, here's Lee Leventhal.
You don't get something, says Senator Frank Lautenberg. Lautenberg has introduced legislation that would prohibit lobbyists from doing what they do on a regular basis. Shower legislators with meals at expensive restaurants, trips to exotic locales, and gifts of all kinds, like expensive ornaments or clocks.
Unfortunately, that beautiful little clock that's placed on the desk is ticking away more than time. It, in some ways, may be ticking away some integrity.
The bill, called the Congressional Ethics Reform Act, would prohibit members of Congress and their staffs from accepting gifts, such as expensive items and tickets to sporting events and shows, meals which have often been taken at 4-star restaurants, and trips that have no legislative function. Lautenberg's message is clear. Lobbyists are using money to buy influence, and he wants that to stop. He's hoping his colleagues in Congress feel the same way. With news from Capitol Hill, I'm Lee Leventhal.
Final score once again, MKA opens up its season with the shutout victory 5-0 over the Belleville Buccaneers. Kevin Clark had a goal and 3 assists to help pace the attack. And Kevin, congratulations on this season opening victory. The good news is that things look very fine for MKA. The bad news is now everybody knows how good you guys are.
Yeah, it's very true. We've been practicing for like 2 weeks, practicing hard, but getting up for the Belleville game because we knew they're a competitive team, one of the top teams in the county. And this was our main focus, to come out strong, let the county know, and other teams know that MKA deserves some respect for once and for all.
What was happening in the first half? The counterattacks were going well. It seemed that any time, not that necessarily that you wanted to, but almost any time that you guys wanted to, you were able to put a pressure on Belleville and many times come away with a goal.
Yeah, we came out strong in the first half. We controlled the ball. Mitch Dechter did a great job settling the ball in the midfield. Our fullbacks played tough. and they just led me on down the wing, and I tried to get a couple of crosses off, and we got lucky a couple of times, and we put it away. We finished really well today.
Well, you did indeed. Congratulations on your performance. It's
Thanks
1
a lot.
out of 19. I know there's a lot still ahead, but it's a good start for the Cougars.
Thanks a lot.
All right, Kevin Clark, a goal, 3 assists today, and now Mitch Decter steps in, who scored a goal on the penalty kick. Mitch, you're the captain of this team. This is a young team in a lot of spots. A freshman in goal, 2 freshmen playing defensive positions. Were you expecting that the team would be able to get off to this kind of start, given the fact that you had a lot of young guys?
I knew these younger guys were ready to go. These guys, when they stepped on the field, I told them there's no age out here. They're just soccer players, and they've been in some competitive games before, and they know what it takes to win this type of game, and they really stepped the level up. Everyone stepped up their level, and that's what it takes to beat a team like Belleville.
Last year, you finished with 12 wins, 6 losses, and a tie, but you graduate, Eric Kusseluk, your leading goal scorer. What were the preseason scrimmages like and practices like as you were trying to find out where the strengths of this club lie, given the changes that were occurring here?
We knew our big problem would be finishing, losing Eric. He scored most of our goals last year, and so we knew our finishing would be our main focus for the year. We concentrated on keeping the ball outside, playing the ball to Kevin. We knew he has the speed up there, controlling the midfield and having our backs mark up real tight. And we knew if we could do that, we have the soccer players out here to win big games.
What are the goals for this Cougar team this year?
We just got to keep up, play like we did today, keep everything in focus. We have our goals. We have the prep tournament coming up, the Essex County tournament. And we feel we have a good shot for both of those tournaments, and hopefully we can play like we did today and keep it up.
Well, the season got off to a great start today. Congratulations, and enjoy this victory, and good luck the rest of the way. Captain Mitch Decter, and now the winning head coach Stu Ward steps in. And Coach, you were confident when I talked to you the other day about this, and obviously your confidence was rewarded. The team played very well.
Thank you. I would have said it was an upset when I talked to you earlier, because we are so young, really with one or two seniors playing. But we've been getting better and better. We've had a really good preseason. The attitude's been there, the effort's been there. And I knew they could play. And I said to them before the game, I said, I've been in a lot of soccer games. I've been with you guys for a long time. I know you can do it. And you guys go out there and do it. And it's finally happened. So.
And Mitch, of course, and Kevin leading the way. And we don't want to get into mentioning all of the names, but you look at the fact that you've got a freshman in net in Timmy Howard, a freshman in Steve Rabb, a sophomore in Siddiqui, a freshman in Greg Decter.
Right.
Those players in their first varsity starts acquitted themselves quite well.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. I'm extremely impressed, and I don't want to let that go to their heads. But, I mean, they played, like upperclassmen. All of them did. And that was a great help because we don't have that much depth. And for those guys to step in and play at that level really made a difference.
And I would think that while you thought this to be the case all along, this victory will now have to change in the minds of many of the so-called soccer aficionados in this county, change in their mind what the top 5 or top 7 looks like. They're going to have to shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, you never know. We've been getting progressively better over the past couple of years, and you really don't, you know that, we know that personally, but the rest of the public isn't going to know until you get the big wins, and I guess it's kind of nice that this was on TV.
And a nice win against a team that was returning 7 starters off a 14-win season. Coach, congratulations on the victory. Good luck the rest of the way, and enjoy the win. I know it's short-lived because you got Blair tomorrow.
Right. Thank you very much.
All right, Coach. Stu Ward, the head coach in his 3rd year of the MKA program, and getting progressively better, as he said. And I think they caught a lot of people, particularly 11 people in particular, from Belleville, by surprise today.
Well, 11 to start with, 8 at the finish. The other side of the coin is maybe it wasn't good that they were on TV. I was telling Stu, I said, because now the cat is out of the bag. One of the best kept secrets is no longer a secret. This is one real good ball club that MKA has. They have a lot of diversity up front. The defense with Howard anchoring it at goal, and he's only a freshman too. We didn't even mention him besides the great job that Kevin Clark with his goal and 3 assists, and of course the captain. Outstanding ball club all the way around.
And while we were away in a commercial break at the end of the game prior to our interview, Decter and Clark, Decter the official captain, Clark obviously with a lot of leadership qualities, they were talking to the team and they were happy with the win, but you could see the focus was already on Blair tomorrow. They were saying 1 game out of 19, long way to go. Let's not forget about Blair. Let's think about Blair. So they're excited about the win, but they know there's more work to be done.
Well, the captains did exactly what they're supposed to do. Guys, be happy now. You won a big game. You won against a team that for all intents and purposes, tied Columbia in a scrimmage, only a scrimmage, but still tied. they're already looking ahead to the next game. This one's behind them. What's over and done with is over and done with. Let's do it. And of course, Belleville has to do the same thing. What's over and done with is over and done with. Let's go on.
All right, that'll wrap up our coverage of our season opener for high school soccer. The final score once again from Van Brunt Field. The MKA Cougars 5, the Belleville Buccaneers nothing. For John Marcy, I'm Matt Laughlin. Thank you for joining us, and have a good night.
Here come the Yankees.